Hey go-getters, it's your coach from Unite to Ignite. I just put up a blog post about the power of no on my website, unitetoignitellc.com. And I wanted to just share a little bit of my story with you guys. Have you ever felt unfulfilled at a job? Have you ever wanted more for yourself but just didn't know what more was or where to go to get it? I hope my past experience that I share with you can get some clarification for you. So it's going to start basically. I was at Walgreens and I had worked there for about 7 years, like since I was, I don't know, 16 maybe. So 7 years there, and I was just overwhelmed. I was like over it. I had advanced up the ranks. I'm like assistant manager at this point. I knew I didn't want to be store manager because they were just unhappy with their pay and they were unhappy with all the work they had to do. And I was like, I don't need unhappiness in my life. Like ever since I was younger, all I asked for is to be happy. Like that's all. I'm a simple girl. I'm not simple. My husband would probably be like, that's a lie. Like I could be a bit much, just a tick. But I think I deserve that, right? Can I get a right? Yes, I think I deserve a little something, a little extra, right? I like extra everything. You give me a burrito, extra sauce, extra cheese. So, but I had went through and I was like, all right, I'm assistant manager now. What's next? And there was just nothing I could visualize that was next for me in that company. And I just got so overwhelmed and frustrated. Probably not with the job itself, but more so with myself because I felt as though I didn't quite fit into that position anymore. So I get I don't know what to call it. My ex-store manager from Walgreens sees me and he's like, hey, what are you doing? You're assistant manager up here. Come be assistant manager at my job. So he moved me to Dollar Tree. I was working at Dollar Tree. Oh my gosh, y'all. It was so much work. So he was store manager and I was like freight manager. I'm the manager over the back of the store or whatever. So I'm still in like a higher up position. The next step up would have been like either corporate or something like that, but I know that's not what I wanted to do. So I'm still like, there's no room for advancement here for me. This is not what I wanted to do. We were getting like 1,000 boxes off a truck, y'all. I'm not the biggest person in the world. I'm strong, but I'm not the biggest person in the world. It was a lot of work, and I had a team that I had to lead, so I made sure we got it done. We had the store looking pristine. We made bonus. They said they had never made bonus before I got there. So I'm a good worker. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm a good worker. But I just know when it's time for me to move on and advance. You know what I'm saying? I know when I'm not supposed to be somewhere. So then I get transferred to another store working under a different manager. I'm working there for a few months. And we're cool. I'm still doing freight. Trying to help her reach bonus. And one day, y'all. Well, let me back up some. I was already frustrated because they had told me I needed to get my daughter off the school bus. We were getting married and going on our anniversary and stuff like that. It was a bunch of stuff happening. This was like 2015. And they were being really complicated about everything. They weren't trying to get me any availability. They didn't want to give me any freedom. And I think that's what it boils down to is freedom, y'all. That's like one of my core values. I need to be free. So they wouldn't let me change my hours so I can get my daughter off of school. I had already had to leave school because they wasn't going to work with my school schedule. They made it very clear that it's either our way or the highway. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I need this job. I got bills to pay, stuff like that. But lo and behold, one day I'm in the stock room and a shipment comes in. It was a candy shipment. And it was like a pallet. It was humongous. And usually the store manager brings it in. So I go get the store manager like, hey, your shipment's here. It's time for you to, bring that in. Because the candy goes to the front. It goes all the way up to the front. I ain't got nothing to do with that. That ain't got nothing to do with me and what I'm doing in the back, right? And I already had so much stuff. I think we were just coming from some holiday and it was just a bunch of stuff back there. And I'm trying to get everything organized. If you ever go into a Dollar Tree, side note, just peek your head into their stock room. It's crazy. Crazy. If I could find an old picture I had of me like on a mountain of boxes and there's like mountains of boxes behind me, then I would definitely update. So, y'all can see that. I will upload it so y'all can see it because it was a monstrosity. Like, no exaggeration, nothing. It's a lot of boxes back there. So I'm like, come get yours. I got so much to do. I'm overwhelmed, whatever. And she's walking around on the phone and she's like, oh, well, you take it in. So I'm like, No, like that's you're supposed to take it in. I still have to take in my stuff and scan all this other stuff and put stuff out. Like we're backed up already. I'm trying to get this done. And she was like, well, you take it in. Okay, whatever. So I take it in, right? So I take it in and I'm like, all right, I take it in. I'm about to start working on my stuff. And she was like, well, I need you to put up mine. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to put up your stuff and then have to go run and do my stuff. I won't have enough time. And she was like, you have time to do whatever I say you have time to do. Excuse me? I was like, what? What did you say? So then I was like, I need to focus on my priorities. And my priorities is getting rid of my stuff. And she was like, I'm your number one priority. Whatever I say is your number one priority. And I immediately started thinking about how much stuff I had to deal with them not letting me get my daughter off the bus, like with them not letting me take days off when I needed it, them giving me a hard time to go on my anniversary that was already planned way before whatever they had going on. It was just so much, and I was like, no, you're not my number one priority. And she was like, excuse me? And I was like, you heard me. You're not my number one priority. And then I told her, I'm quitting. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm quitting. Like, what am I about to do? So she was like, well, whatever. If you want to quit, you just have to sign some papers. And I was like, fine, I'll sign them. And she was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. Give me the papers. I'll sign them. So I had to sign, a letter saying that I resigned as of blah, blah, blah date or whatever. And y'all, I got my stuff and I left out of there and I was crying. I was screaming on the way home. Like, I felt so good. It was just like, I was finally free. Like, that was my exodus, right? Like Pharaoh had me tied down and I finally got free and I was just like so happy. And I had no idea what the next step was, but I just knew that it was not that. Like, that wasn't it. So fast forward, that's the time when I had to say no. But there's also a time when I didn't say no. So it is really important, and that's what I write about in my blog post, to align with your core values. And I recently met with a client, and she was like, I don't even know what my core values are. Girl, I don't even know what my core values are half the time either. Like, I had to really sit down and find out what my core values were, because I kept finding myself signing up for these jobs or these positions that just made me truly unhappy because they didn't feed me. There was no reciprocity. I was giving, and I wasn't getting anything back from the career. So I really had to take a step back and think, like, what is it that I want to do? What fuels me? Like, what unites me? What ignites me? What gives me fire? And I was doing life coaching before I was doing group coaching because I had a nonprofit, and I never even thought about it until I came across a podcast, and the podcast was like, hey, if you like helping people, then you should do blah blah blah. And I'm like, I didn't even know life coaching was a thing. Like, I thought it was just therapy and counselors. I didn't know, that this was this middle avenue that you could get into. And that sparked my interest because I'm like, that's what I'm already doing. I had a friend who used to call me Jiminy Cricket because I would always help and give good advice. That's just what I specialize in. That's what I love to do. I like looking at the whole problem in its entirety and then kind of figuring out the best way to move about it where everybody wins, or at least you come out on top and nobody gets trampled on. So recently I had signed up for another position that I didn't really want, but I had to train myself. So this is one of my core values is security, financial security. So I would see like money and I'd be like, yeah, I'll do that. How much you gonna pay me? Oh yeah, I'll do that. Even if it's not something that I really want to do. And then I get into the position and over time I find out I'm frustrated again. And I'm like, why? Why do we keep coming back here? What is the issue? Get it together, okay? So I had to figure out, why did I keep repeating that cycle? I'm signing myself up for things that don't necessarily align with my destiny, align with who I am, align with my purpose. So that's why, so in my blog post, like I was saying, I write, it's so important to find your core values and who you are and what your foundation is, because then you can build on top of that. Like, if I know I'm an introvert, I don't really like partying, I much rather read a book about education or self-betterment or something along those lines than when I meet a few girls who are like, yeah, we go to the club every day, girl, you cute, you should come hang out with me. Why would I sign myself up for that? that doesn't align with who I am. My foundation is already built. If I have a foundation where I know one of my core values is trust, and somebody who builds me up with compliments or something like that, and then I meet a guy and he's like, yeah, I don't like to compliment girls, and a few weeks into us talking and some shady stuff going on, why would I continue in that relationship? It's not going to benefit me at the end of the day because it doesn't align with my foundation. So it's very important to know who you are and know your foundation and set that foundation. Even I tell everybody, please write it down. People are like, I don't need to write it down. Write it down. Stop playing yourself. Stop. Just stop. Stop. Write it down. Like, just write it down so you have it. So that way, when something comes across, an opportunity or somebody comes across and they line up with you, you can look at them, size them up, write a list of what they got going on, and then go back to your core values. Does this match with what I'm trying to do? If your core values are knowledge, and then you dealing with somebody who rather sit down and watch Netflix all day, not even a documentary section, just Netflix whatever's, then do they line up with what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go? If your core values are fun, and then you meet somebody who's like totally serious, like they don't even laugh, they chuckle, then why would you line yourself up with them? Because they don't align with your core values, with your goals. So it's very important to know. And when it comes to positions, like I probably will never ever, Lord only knows, God only knows where I'm headed to, but I probably never ever work retail again. At least not on the floor in the store. As much as I love customer service, I know that doesn't align with my core values. Building up somebody else's company doesn't align with my core values. One of my core values is independence, so that doesn't align with me. One of my core values is financial stability, financial security. And I know in a job, I don't necessarily have that because at any moment, for any reason, they can just snatch that from me. They're in control of that, and I don't like that. So I know that's not for me now. But it took a while of trial and error. I would say everything takes trial and error to kind of know yourself. So if you go through a storm and you come out and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so hard, Lord, why? Oh my gosh, I just went through the craziest storm in my life. Somebody passed away, this happened, that happened. Align with how you feel. Align with what makes you feel a certain way, because in that lies your core values. In that lies the things that you like and the things that you don't like, your passions and the things that you don't really care for. And once you know that, then you can know where to go and where not to go. If I know I don't like seafood, I'm not gonna find myself at Red Lobster. Flat out, you know what I'm saying? I might go to TGI, which has a little bit of everything, but I'm not going to go to a crab shack because I don't like seafood. So just finding out who you are, even if somebody invites me to go, I'm like, I don't like that. So let's try and find some middle ground. And also be confident in yourself. Like, I talk about confidence all the time, y'all, because it's such a large scale thing. Like, you don't understand. Be confident in yourself to know that if you take away a certain opportunity, if you feel like, oh, this doesn't align with me, but it'll give me money, but I need help right now, but blah 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 blah, whatever you can come up with in your mind, don't settle. Don't settle. Don't settle. Love yourself to know there's another thing coming. If one train comes, there's another one coming. And that goes for anything in life. That goes with anything. That goes with food. That goes with the ice cream truck. That goes with anything. If you see something, it's going to be another one somewhere in the world that you can get to. Don't settle, okay? That's definitely something I want to leave you to. And the power of no. Stick with your nose. You don't have to say no. You can say no, thank you. No, thank you. That ain't for me. No, thank you. I appreciate it if, I didn't do that right now, or I can't see that being a part of where I'm going right now, or I don't foresee that in my future. There's nice ways to say no if you want to sugarcoat it like that, but be firm in your no. Know why you're saying no. Walk away feeling confident in your no. If they follow up, let them follow up, but don't bend down, don't bend to it, and sometimes it's okay to compromise in contracts. Like, all right, well, it's a no for me unless, because you have to work for yourself or else you'll end up being unhappy. And I don't want that for y'all. Like, I really want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to live their best life. I want everyone to feel fulfilled. I want everyone to find their passion and their truth. And I want everybody to walk in that. I want you to walk in your purpose, not the purpose of the Walgreens CEO or their company model or Dollar Tree's company model. I want you to walk in your purpose. What are you here for? What are you supposed to do? What is it inside of you that's begging to come out? And that's pretty much it. So, power enough. If they test you, say no. Because if people walk over you once, they're going to try and walk over you again, okay? So learn to say no and stick with your no. Being confident. If you're missing an opportunity and you feel down because you let an opportunity go because it didn't align with you, be confident that there's another one coming. I promise you, there's another one coming. It might take forever, okay? But it'll be totally worth it, and it'll align with who you are. And that leads me to number 3. Find out who you are. Who are you? Who are you? Do you know who you are? Do you know? Besides your name or your nickname or whatever your grandma called you, do you know who you are? What you stand for? What's your foundation? What are your core values? Give me at least 3 to 4, 6 of them. You can put them in the comments down below. Let me see them things, okay? So at least if you didn't write it down on your notepad or whatever, you can come back to this video and say, I wrote them down here. You can always come and look at them, and we can converse about them. Like, I'm interested to know if you know who you are, because a lot of times when I meet with clients, I ask them, what's 5 things you good at? I don't know. I never thought about it. You gotta be your biggest cheerleader. You know, what are your core values? What do you want to do in life? I don't know. I never thought about it. So let's start thinking about those things. Let's start thinking about ourselves and putting us first for just a little bit, just for a season. We could be selfish for a season, just a smidget of a year. Give me like 10% of the year where you could be selfish and you can focus on building yourself. I need to see that. All right, y'all. I love you, my go-getters. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment down below with your core values, who you are, and what your vision and purpose is. I can't wait to see it. And let's go, getters. Let's get it.